in to another episode of Pucks and Prosecco. I'm Meghan Angley, joined by Chloe Theil, and a very special guest today in studio, Sportscaster and the creator of Out of His League, Kat Ellis, joins the show today. And we are so excited for our first ever in-studio guest.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
This is so, I'm like just started to shake right when we turned the camera on.
I know,
I'm
I got
like,
nervous.
oh my God, this is so special. I love it.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited. We're going to have so much fun.
I know.
We confirmed off air the Prosecco policy. So
Yes.
we are going to open these Proseccos at the top of the show. And we'll get to the fun stuff probably towards the end in perfect timing with a little bit of Prosecco in our bellies.
Perfect.
So we can pop these open.
Oh, all right.
They're twist tops.
Oh, okay,
It's not
perfect.
as scary as it seems. We were worried the first
It's
time we
okay.
tried
I've popped a couple Proseccos in my day.
I have a weird fear of like it
the cork,
popping in my
the
face.
pressure, yes.
So it's always better to have the twist off, even though it does take.
I know John was like, how long will that take you guys to do it live?
It's like hopefully not
Hopefully
very
not
long.
too long.
At least Jake drove me here, so I have a DD
That was
home.
that's what I was curious about too. All right, that's a fair point.
Perfect.
And you can twist it back on and take.
Oh my God, it's
Take it
little
home.
hearts too.
You can take it to go.
So cute.
Stop, take it to go. Good pour, Chloe.
Ah, thank you. I wish I could say I was a bartender or something, but I'm just not.
You're allowed. You can lie.
I'm a bartender.
How would they know?
Right.
Yeah. How will they know?
All right. Should we cheers?
We should cheers.
I'll
If we
move
can
this
reach.
so it's not ugly.
So
Cheers,
excited.
girls!
I love it.
Yay!
First sip.
To Pucks and Prosecco,
To
baby.
Pucks-
We're
Woo!
in it now.
Prosecco.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Okay, so to tell you a little bit about Pucks and Prosecco too, because we gave you kind of a weird rundown before the show, but we also like to amplify women's voices in hockey. This is a sport that we love so much, and so we love to connect with other women who are passionate about hockey and learn more about their path through hockey, and especially women working in hockey. We like to learn a little bit about how you got to this place, and so we always start at the beginning with where you first fell in love with hockey.
Oh gosh. Probably before I was born. So my dad played hockey. He actually was a goalie at Boston College. Yeah, so he played D1 hockey, and then he went into like semi-pros for a bit after. And then because of that, I think he introduced my older brother to hockey, and that's when I got to actually experience it, growing up with an older brother playing hockey. And he went on to play for Harvard University. He was the captain. And I think just like growing up around the sport and also up around his friends, and he had such great friends growing up in the sport that it made me like fall in love with the culture and the game equally. Also when I was younger and it was like time that I could put skates on, I think I started with figure skating lessons.
Yeah.
And I went out twice and I hit my toe pick and tripped and fell and cried. And my dad was like to my mom, like, she's done. She's switching to hockey skates. And then I never looked back. And
She
then
decided herself.
yeah, exactly. Like it was fate. Like we tried, but it's just meant to be hockey. And then I ended up playing hockey for 8 years after that. So yeah, I would say definitely my dad and my brother rubbed off on me. And yeah, just got stuck to it. And now hockey is life.
That was my exact story too. My dad played my brother, not for Harvard or for BU.
I know, like
but it was the same thing. Just growing up watching them play, it always made me want to play, and I wasn't ever able. I didn't have a place to go and play. So I'm just wondering how you got introduced to it and how you started actually playing.
So after like doing skating and stuff, then it's actually like, I think it's the coolest story now because you can really see how much female hockey for girls and women has evolved from like me. I'm like back in my day. But when I started playing, actually, I was playing for an organization in Massachusetts called the East Coast Wizards, and it was an all girls team, but there were no other girls teams in the area. So we actually played in an all boys league and we were the only all girls team. And my dad got to coach me, which was like the coolest experience ever. Like, I think that's why we have the relationship that we have today. And we're so close and we're still like best friends, is because we like built our relationship with him coaching me in hockey. And like, I can still remember like the funniest moments ever of him being on the bench and being like, Mamma mia, like coaching like U10 girls hockey when like we don't score. And one of my favorite memories is like, it had to be like U10, like in one of our girls went off sides and I was just like mouthing off. I was like, we learned that in U8s, like, you know, not to go off sides. And he screamed at me and then he benched me the rest of the game. And he was like, we can talk like that at home. We cannot talk like that.
Oh my goodness.
Which is so funny.
Professional relationship on the ice.
Yeah. So he definitely didn't give me like favoritism. I did not get favoritism. I got benched the rest of that game. But yeah, we were all girls against all boys, which then like later on as we got older, it was all boys rules. So actually we were there like the first year that checking started.
Yeah.
So I was in a checking league and then I took like I think like 6 to 7 year break. And then junior year of high school, I was like, I kind of want to pick it up again. So I went back to it junior year of high school and I didn't know that you couldn't check. So like my first like public high school varsity hockey game, like one of my first shifts, I like
body
decked
around.
the girl, and my coach was like, Kat, like, what are you doing? And I was like, I didn't know we couldn't do that here.
Oh my God.
So that was really funny.
I need video of that somewhere.
Oh God, they don't have that footage. They do not have that footage. I don't even have like I said like one of my goals in life is somebody does enough research on me to create an elite prospects profile for me,
If Avril
and
Lavigne
find
and
my
Paris Hilton
stats
can have one
somewhere. That would be electric.
Wait,
but
what?
yeah, I don't
Paris
have
Hilton
one.
and Avril Lavigne have elite prospect profile.
Seriously?
Does she?
Yes.
I did
That's
not know
so
that.
funny. She would
Wait,
play
I need to
hockey.
see that.
Like she was my
That makes
idol
so
growing
much
up.
sense.
Genuinely, like I'm obsessed. I've always been obsessed with her. I
know, it
heard her
tracks.
CD, so that makes so much sense. That just made me love
does.
her even more.
Was there pressure to be a goaltender at all?
Oh my God. So I feel like when you're growing up, like typically like no one wants to be the goalie. Like when you're like in squirts and peewees, like everyone just wants to score goals because that's what's fun. So we didn't have one. So we just rotated who was the goalie every game by like alphabetical order. And I played goalie for one game. I let in 8 goals. One of them I actually pushed in by myself. I tried to cover, it was on the ice and I tried to cover it. And I couldn't get the glove to open because it was so big for me that it stayed closed and just pushed down and it shot into the net. That after that game, they just took me out of the rotation. I started crying after like 6. My dad was like, stay out there. And then, yeah, they took me out of the rotation because I was the worst one by far.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so my dad took that pressure off quick.
And who was your team that you repped growing up? Was it Boston?
Like professionally?
Bruins? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely grew up a Bruins fan. That was just like engraved in me. But also like just from my brother, he never played pro, but so many of his friends did that I also would like individually root for them. We got so close with them. It was the coolest experience growing up with, especially living in Massachusetts and him playing at Harvard so close by that like a lot of times with hockey season, they don't get holidays off. So like for Thanksgiving for 4 years in a row, we had like 10 of his teammates over to my family Thanksgiving, which was so special. And then like a lot of them ended up going into the NHL. So we just like, we kind of like root for all of them in their teams except for when they're playing the Bruins, then we root for the Bruins. Like we're like, we hope you score and then the Bruins win.
That's very real.
Yeah.
So I have to admit, I stalked your IG a little bit.
I would hope so.
You have to.
I would hope so.
And I saw one of your posts where the caption was saying that like growing up, you were the only one that did cheerleading in the fall, hockey in the spring, and that you were on the 4th line and you would make hair bows for your hockey team while you're sitting on the bench.
Yes. Like before the game, after the game, we were the only, I guarantee you we were the only girls hockey team like wearing bows.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that came from cheerleading. But yeah, that was also like in part when I checked that girl like my first shift. So my coach was like, she does cheerleading in the fall, like give her pom-poms. And then like the team banquet dinner after, they did like gag gifts and they gave me like pom-poms and lip gloss. And like everybody else got like more like funnier, like more like tomboyish gifts, and I was like the biggest like girly girl on the team. So
I love that.
yeah, every single day like I had like makeup wipes in my stall for like after warm-ups I'd take my makeup off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love one of the terms we use on the show is unapologetically girly. That
Yes.
it is okay to exist as someone who loves hockey, who loves talking, loves playing, and be unapologetically girly girl in this world.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was exactly it. I got chirped for it, but like it's fine. Like thicker skin, it's totally fine.
No, exactly. I think a little bullying makes us all a
Yeah.
little stronger. Iron sharpens iron.
It really does.
Yes.
When did you know you wanted to work in media?
I don't know like when it started. I just feel like as long as I can remember, Erin Andrews was the it girl, the
Yeah.
coolest girl in the world. I was like, I don't care what I do. I just want to be her. Whatever it takes to be her, I'm going to do. The first thing I ever actively did was like senior year of high school. We could do like kind of like an internship instead of a class for your last quarter of high school. So I convinced like the guy that ran like our computer department to let me like intern with him, and he was like, okay, but like what are you gonna do? And I was like, I'm gonna learn how to video edit, which was nothing. He was like IT help desk, like nothing of what he did, but I would just go in there every day and like go on like YouTube University and learn how to video edit and stuff. And the first thing I ever did was our high school boys end of the year banquet video. And I remember doing it, and I like did like interviews with the seniors and then like interviews with the freshmen about the seniors, and I just put together a video. And the coach actually emailed me after and was like, that was by far the best banquet video we've ever had. Like it was so meaningful. It almost brought me to tears. He'd been the coach for like 40 years at the time. And I feel like that to me was kind of like a light of like, oh, I know how to like touch people in this way in the sports world. And then from there on out, I just like spiraled, and I was like, I'm going to college for sports media. I'm going to do every internship I can. And yeah, I feel like everybody in sports media kind of says they've wanted to their whole life. Like I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like been in me forever. I don't even remember the day that I was like, I want to do sports stuff.
Yeah. And tell me about your BU chapter. Was that a point of contention in the household because dad was a BC guy? Did he feel betrayed?
That was crazy. So something I don't even think it's like really on the internet that not a lot of people know about me is I actually went to Alabama freshman year.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was in the sports media program there, but I realized very quickly that I was not well connected in the sports world in Alabama. Like the people that are able to get jobs with the football team there, like their grandparents and great-grandparents, like they've all been born and raised in Alabama and roll tide or die. And I was like, I'm not going to get a job here. So I transferred to BU, and I did not think I was going to get in. Like that was my reach for sure. And when I got in, I think my dad was just so happy that I was going to be closer to home. Also, like another big part of the story was my freshman year, he got cancer. And so I was traveling home all the time to see him. And I was just like, I can't do this another year. He was still going through chemo, and I was like deciding if I was going to transfer or not. And I think he was just so happy that I was going to be close to home that he didn't really care that it was like his rival school. And also I'm like, anybody who's like a diehard fan of anything, I'm like, you could be switched. If you have a daughter, you could be
have a
swayed.
daughter.
He literally has like a huge BC Eagles tattoo on his arm, like ginormous. And I remember he showed up to like the BC golf alumni outing the year after I got into BU and had like a terrier sticker on the back of his car, and all his old teammates were like, Dougie, what are you doing? And he's just like, have a daughter, and like you'll see.
My girl.
But yeah, we do say there's a big hockey tournament in Boston with Boston College, Boston University, Harvard University, and Northeastern. So we're like, anybody but Northeastern can win, and our house will be happy. Because anyone but Northeastern.
You just, you had to readjust where those boundaries were.
Yeah.
And you still have hatred in
Yeah,
your
but
heart
he
somewhere.
became like such a diehard BU fan. And like, then I started like dating Jake, and Jake was playing at BU, and like my parents were like pulling all of like the photos of him, and like anytime they had like an autograph photo of him, like they'd like take it from the rink. Like they became like BU super fans. So
That's so
it's
cute.
fine.
It's so
Yeah,
wholesome.
it is. Love can change your rivalries. I'm telling you, like no rivalry is too deep for blood.
That's so funny. And I'm assuming that your video editing from high school still comes in handy to this day.
Oh my God, yeah. I think one of my first classes in college, one of my professors was talking about his first on-camera gig, and it was down to him and one other person, and he said the only reason he got the job over that person was he told them he knew how to edit, and he didn't. And after that interview, he just for like 48 hours straight, like learned everything he could about editing, and that gave him the upper hand, and he got hired over that. And that really stuck with me. And I just learned like everything I could about shooting, editing, and especially when you're starting out, it's hard to find someone to film for you. So I really would just do like a tripod setup and like shoot it myself and then edit myself. And I think I'm really glad that I did that, and I would honestly recommend that to anybody to learn the behind the scenes and all of the production because it can help you so much. One, if you're like short staffed, 2, sometimes like your producers just need a second hand to get stuff set up. But then like 3, I think it makes you appreciate when you have that help so much more. Like I've now seen so many on-camera talent people who just like do not appreciate all of the work that the behind-the-scenes people do. And I'm like, they are like lugging around this equipment. They're there an hour before you, an hour after. Editing takes 10x what it takes to shoot it. So I'm really glad that I did that, and I would recommend it to anybody. And still like to this day, like I edit out of his league completely by myself. And so many people, I can't believe that I do that, because it's not really common. But I think especially with the era that we're in with social media, and so like people are really posting high quality, very technically edited videos just on their social media pages. I would recommend to everybody to do that, and it's free to learn. Like literally just go on YouTube. There's TikTok videos about it. I would tell everyone to do that for sure. It definitely still comes in handy. It's funny, I've like been doing it for like 8 years, and I'm like, I am such a novice compared to like what other editors are able to do, but I know like the basics. So
that's all you need. Really. That's what I love about working in a space like this so much, especially at this company being so small. I feel like we all kind of have to learn how to do everything. So going out and shooting by yourself and learning how to produce everything, it is really important, and we're so grateful for our producers. Did you hear that, John?
Yes, John.
Chloe is our social media manager. She was never planning to go behind a mic, but this idea for this show required her. So
that's the way it happens.
We just needed Chloe too badly.
And sometimes like a job, if you want to be on camera, sometimes starting at the company behind will leverage you into a position on, which is actually what happened with me. So yeah, it's crazy. I would just like dip your toes in as much water as you can and learn everything you can, especially when you're starting out, because like there's nothing worse than when you meet someone who's been in the industry for like 40 years and they're like, how do I post this on my Instagram? It's like, oh,
come on.
Is BU where you first did sideline reporting? Can you tell me about balancing being a student while covering the team with players that are also your classmates?
Yeah, that was very interesting. So that's kind of what I was just touching on, where I got the job as the team manager my first year at BU, and that kind of stemmed from my brother. One of his old coaches at Harvard, Paul Pearl, was coming over to BU to coach for BU, and they were looking for a new student manager. And I guess they interviewed like 100 students, but they were all like kind of like super fans. And like when you work for a team, you're really not supposed to be like a fan. Like you root for them, obviously, but you need to be able to be professional about it. And like people were coming in with like jerseys on, and he was like, we need someone who like can like handle this. So he texted my brother and was like, I know. He had known me since I was like 12. He was like, I know your sister really wants to work in like sports. We're looking for a student manager. Will you bring her in for an interview? So I got that job, and I was the manager for a year. And with that, I knew I eventually wanted to go on camera. So I became really close with our Ringside reporter at the time, Catherine Bogart. Love her. Would literally die for her, kill for her. Like she is the reason anything that ever happens to me in life is like because of her first stepping stone. She would like stay late after practice with me and teach me everything. Like I just shadowed her and like literally probably annoyed the heck out of her. But I was just like, what do we do? What do we think about this? How do you come up with your questions? How do you pick who to interview? And she taught me everything. And then at the end of the season, she knew she was going to be getting hired by the New Jersey Devils. So she kind of like whispered to me like, hey, I'm going to be gone after this season. Like go tell the guy that picks this job, like you want it, like nobody knows yet. So I like storm into his office and I was like, I want to be the Ringside reporter. I know this team better than anyone. I've traveled with them the last year. Catherine's taught me everything she knows. Like, let me do it. And he was just like, okay. And I was just like, really?
Like, that was going to be a harder sell.
Like no questions. That's it. Nothing. Nope. So that's like literally how I got my first one. It was like right place, right time, but also just trying to learn everything I could at once. Then I had like the upper hand of knowing that job was available. So yeah, that was the first time. It was interesting. To my knowledge, I'm the first Ringside reporter that's ever still been a student while being there.
Yeah,
like Catherine
so cool.
didn't go to BU. She came after college and after working for USA Hockey. So it was definitely, it was an interesting experience. It was the coolest, most unique thing ever because I would know certain things about like the team and the players that I think like an average reporter wouldn't, because I also like they became like my best friends. Like they really were my best friends on campus, and I would just know like oh, like this person's having a tough family time right now, or like this person's family's into town, so he's got like extra juice for this game. And I just had like an inside scoop,
Right.
that I typically wouldn't report on, because I tried to separate like what would I know if I was just a reporter and what would I know if I was their friend. But it really made me appreciate the athletes for the people that they are before the athletes that they are on the ice. And I think that really shaped like the type of content that I'm creating now. Because I would get so mad if I saw like a negative report on them, and then I knew like they were going through a hard time in their personal life, and I'm just like, go easy on them, but like you can't tell them that they're going through that. But it was really fun, and like literally like after the games, like we'd all go out and party together after, and that was, I think it was like the coolest college experience ever. I did not have a normal college experience, but it was really special.
Those were some pretty stacked BU teams too.
Yeah.
That you covered while you were there.
Yeah.
Has it been extra special seeing some of those players go to the NHL and other pro leagues and have success?
Oh my God, absolutely. I think it was either my first or second year there. We had the most NHL draft picks of any college hockey team in the nation. Like absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
So it's so fun, like seeing so many of them still playing and playing at the NHL. And I actually ran into Jake Ottinger at the Four Nations Faceoff last weekend, and I was just on the bench like taking photos, and they were finishing up their goalie skate, and he was like, "Kat," like, and it was just so good to see him, and they were such a good group of guys that it makes me so happy to see them succeeding. Like, and Brady Tkachuk and his wife Emma, who I became really good friends with in college, like seeing how successful they are, and like his career is flourishing, his like I don't know how to say this, like public image, and like he's like individually growing the sport, him and his brother, so much. Like seeing them do that, like coming from BU, it's just so cool. And I'm like so happy for all of the athletes, really. Like they're seeing the foundation of it, and then like to where they are now is so cool. Like I remember, I think like the first time Dante Fabro came back to visit after like signing his NHL deal, he had bought like a crazy house. And then like he was like, the bar tab's on me, guys, I got you. And I'm just like, what? And he's like, it's so weird. Like my stallmate like has diapers in his stall for his baby. And like we're with like 17-year-olds on the team. Like it's such a jump. Like it's crazy. But it's so cool. And I'm like so happy for them. And I'll always like root for them as individuals, like so hard.
I feel like it's so important to have that firsthand experience and actually personally get to know people, because I know with hockey a lot it's hard to separate the people from the business, especially when it comes to trades and everything. I always think you want to look at the person first. So I think that's so special that you're going into that as a person of media, having that experience with players.
Oh, thank you.
I love it.
Well, speaking of hockey being such a tight-knit world, I know that your hockey journey has brought you to Colorado.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Through your boyfriend, Jake Wise, who's had a huge breakout season with the Eagles. Can you share a little bit about your meet cute and how you first met?
So as I mentioned, I was the Ringside reporter for BU. He did happen to play for BU. My first year, we actually met, of course, my first year. And I was the manager. And it's so funny. I actually thought he was like a total prick when I first met him. Our first interaction,
love it.
Our first interaction was terrible. So we were on the road, and the guys were playing suey like to warm up, and one of them hit a light bulb and it shattered. And so my the director of hockey ops was like, "Kat, can you like go check if they need like a broom or something? Like it sounds like they just broke something." So I like waddle on over. This is my first road trip with the team. I gotten hired a week before. I don't know anyone.
And breaking things.
And I go out and I asked like the captain, I'm like, "Is everything okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's just plastic. We just picked it up." And I'm like, "Okay." Go back in front of my boss, all the coaches, the trainer, and Jake. We're all in like the locker room together. And my boss is like, "Is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, they broke a light, but like they just picked it up. It was just plastic." Room goes dead silent. And Jake from the training table, like from the rafters, just goes, "That was the dumbest thing I've ever heard." And this is my first work trip with all my bosses, because the light bulb was glass, not plastic. But I just heard that from someone else, so I just told that information.
Yeah.
And
Wait a minute.
It's not your fault. And then I literally went to the room. I'm like, this guy's ick.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, I'm
Oh
not
my
talking to him. So I actually like avoided him for 3 months because I thought he was like mean. Come to find out, he's actually the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. We just got off on the wrong foot, and he's like, I didn't say it like that. I was joking. And I was like, no, you said it like that, like in front of my bosses.
Oh no.
So I avoided him, became friends with everyone else. Like, he was last. And then he got hurt and was missing like the whole rest of the season. And I think we just like became really good friends because we would like be sitting watching practice together, and we both travel with the team, and I would have to like go get groceries for the guys, and he would just come because he'd be bored. And we just like grew a really strong friendship foundation because of that. It's actually funny, like way in the beginning I was like, I think you should date my best friend. Like, you know, when you meet a guy who's so
Always
awesome and you're like,
happens,
I want
doesn't
him to
There's
date my
so
best
many
friend, like, because
rom-com
he's the
tropes
best
here.
guy and she deserves. And then I was like, actually,
Wait a minute.
I think I'm gonna save you for myself. Yeah, and then we started dating like right at the end of that season. And it was funny because like it technically wasn't allowed when I was the manager because I was traveling with the team. But then when I turned into the Ringside reporter, then there was no
changed.
rules against it because I didn't travel with the team. So then like we kind of got away with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how we met. And it's also crazy because after like we find out the hockey world is tiny, he had played with my brother on like a summer team like
Oh.
6 years prior. We found out our
Invisible
dads
strings.
work in like similar industries, and they had done jobs together. And we live our hometowns 10 minutes from each other. And then we found out I literally went to one of his high school hockey games because like my friend went to his high school. So it's like the invisible string
Yes.
theory.
Yeah.
Totally. I think it was like right place, right time. The fact that we never met before BU is like insane to me. But yeah, been together ever since. Almost
my
6 years
gosh.
now.
That's
That's
so
a great meet
crazy.
cute.
No,
Thank
that's
you.
such a
so,
big
it's like
Every time I
story.
tell someone, they're like, there needs to be a book about like a hockey romance novel.
it's like
this. I'm
several
go ahead.
hockey romance tropes. I haven't
Yeah.
ever actually read a hockey romance book because I start and I'm like, there's no way that would ever happen. Like, you kiss him after a game, he smells so
He's
bad.
sweaty.
He's wearing like
He's
his
sweaty.
jockstrap from age 12. What do you mean?
Yeah, it's like icebreaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can't bring
Yeah.
myself to do it. I can't
Gosh,
do
I
it.
see so
I
many
can't
people talk
suspend
about it.
disbelief.
I went to the bookstore like 2 weeks ago and I picked it up and I was like, this looks like I can't read it. I just can't.
I
just
want to
can't
love
do
it.
I've actually heard it's so spicy.
Really?
I've heard they
Oh.
like put the cover like to look like a children's novel, and then
It
like you
does.
open it and you're like,
Oh my
Oh.
god. Yeah.
That's what I've heard. I haven't read it.
interesting.
I'm scared. I don't think I can suspend my
Lexi
disbelief.
Brown's dropping one, so
I'm excited
I feel
for
like
that
hers
one.
will be.
Okay.
I feel like hers will be good because it will probably include inside like pieces of information
Yes.
of like what it's like to be with like an NHL player that like isn't really like out there online right now.
Yes.
So I feel like that one will be a really cool, unique perspective.
Maybe we should have a Pucks and Prosecco book club.
Ooh,
Book club.
And we meet
Yes.
everyone
And-
to be a part.
Yeah,
You
we'll,
want
we'll
to?
power through them, and I can't
Exactly.
wait for Lexi's book. I
Yeah.
think that one's going to be good because she's already doing some different things with the genre than I've seen off the top. So I think there's going to be more representation in her characters. So really excited about that one.
Me too. I just wanted to ask you, I know you talked about, you know, balancing your relationship with the guys on the team. So I just want to know how that kind of plays into your relationship and supporting a partner that plays at a very high level, and if that's kind of shaped your perspective on the sport in any way.
Yeah, it definitely like it like changed what I wanted to do so much. Like I really thought I wanted to be a Ringside reporter, and then the perspective of how I was watching the game once we started dating changed so much
Yeah.
because I cared so much about him as an individual as opposed to just like reporting on the team. And like obviously like I had a little favoritism towards him, like it happens. I try not to, like I try in my reporting, like I always stayed super neutral, but I kind of had the epiphany of like, okay, do we think I'm going to be able to do this at like a pro level with you? I don't think so. I don't think I want to. Or the opposite would be like me being a reporter for a different team that's not the one that you're on, and then we
Right.
don't see each other for 10
Right.
months of the
Right.
year because we're going to have the exact same schedules in different states.
Right.
And then after college, like I got a job that helped me like move more into the entertainment side. And then I realized like I like doing this a lot more than the analytics personally. And also making it as a female in sports broadcasting is so difficult that if you are not 200% all in on it, like you are not going to make it. And I was
Yeah.
probably like 60. And I was just like, there are girls that would kill for this. Like I'm not going to not that I would get the jobs, but like I don't want to take it over them. So I moved more like entertainment side, and like I'm so thankful social media where it is now that I can do that, because I don't think I could like do the reporting that I used to do now. And like there are times like when in my old job, like I had to like tweet about hockey, and it's so hard to be impartial towards your feelings, but you have to. But I'm in a very like delicate line, and I try not to cross it, where I have so many friendships and even like now like with like players' wives and girlfriends where like they'll tell me stuff and I'm like, oh, this would be such a cool story, but I don't want to like, it's privileged. And I don't want to like step on their toes by like leaking this. I don't know if they'd want everyone to know this, but like if a reporter heard this, they'd probably post it. So I don't really know how I would like say to navigate it, because I think I take it like day by day, situation by situation.
Striking
but
that balance.
Jake's been like so good in helping me navigate it, because he knows there's so much overlap that one time he said to me, like, what if you like when you're working, like you put your work hat on and you just like pretend we're not dating, how would you feel about this, and report on it that way. I think what the most difficult part is some people out there are unable to separate us, which is very unfortunate, because they'll look at like, oh, we're a couple, so we must have the same opinions on things. And that is not the case at all, especially with hockey. Like there'll be so many times, even after a game, like we're just chatting about it and I'll think differently about like his play or like this and that, and like he'll think differently, and like we're like okay having different opinions. But there's some people out there that if I tweeted like the Colorado Eagles are the best team in the entire league, they'd be like, oh well, Jake thinks that, so he must like have a big head, like you know. So I just try to like pretend we're not in a relationship and do like reports in that way. I do my best. I do my best. If I ever mess up, I'm sorry.
No,
I feel like there's no guidebook for this.
There's no guidebook.
Yeah, like I've never really seen anybody else like do this, so I don't have anyone to like go off of. So yeah,
it's hard to
I'm doing my best.
Teeter that line, and I feel like it's so good that like you can go in and the wives and girlfriends will trust you enough to know that they can tell you things that you won't report on, but you can also interview them in a way where you can share their stories.
And that's like that's something you have to learn as you go. Like there were some people I wanted to do for Nations content with, and like they are like the nicest people ever, and they're like, I'm not good for this, like I don't want myself on the internet, but I would love to help you find somebody else. And I'm like so appreciative of that, and I really try to respect that, because a lot of these girls don't want the spotlight. A lot of the guys don't even want the spotlight, and a lot of them like keep their lives as private as they can. And some people like do a switch where like when they're on the ice, they're showtime, they're performers, and then when they go home, like they just don't want to be bothered. And I respect that so much. So I think it's just knowing like people feel differently about it, and respecting that is such a big thing. Like even one of like the episodes of Out of His League that's coming out was with a girl on a team, and she was like, please just don't film in the family room. And I was like, totally get it. Like people's babies are in there. So it's just like recognize the boundaries. And I think you'll earn a lot of people's trust doing that.
We're kind of in the process of doing that ourselves.
Yeah.
Trying to get more guests on.
What the boundaries are.
Exactly.
Trying to honor them. I think the perspective you have is unique though, and it helps you not only in respecting boundaries, but your storytelling. Can you mention, you know, having some context and some insight information helps you to shape the stories that you tell too, from a thoughtful lens.
I think I just always try to take it from the perspective of like, tell this person's story in a way that nobody else has before, and like really personify them. With sports, it's so easy to take the athlete like for face value of how they're performing on the ice, and not take into account like, oh, they just got traded, so like their whole entire game day is completely like, I remember like Patrick Kane when he got traded like to New York, everybody was all over him that he like wasn't popping off right from the get-go, and I was just like, this guy's had the same game day routine thousands of times for so many years, and you just plopped him into the biggest city, and he, like there's little teeny tiny things like his trainer is different. He might have like gotten a Diet Coke before the game from somebody, and he can't do that anymore. Like he has the same handshake with somebody. It's little things that like will impact your game so much. So I always try to think like what external factors like in their personal lives, in their family lives, is shaping them into who they are and why they are the way they are. And that's like what I try to shine light on. I also just think the more you like personify them and their families, the more the audience will realize like, oh, they are a human being. Maybe I shouldn't text them, you suck, your husband suck, after every single game. I think once you like not like find a way to get empathy, but just share like everybody has struggles, even the top players with the top contracts, with the best salaries, with the best families. Everybody has their own struggles, and when you like shine a light on it and find something that every single viewer can be like, oh, I resonate with this, they'll appreciate their story so much more. So that's really what I try to do. And also, like, especially with pro athletes, all their stories have been told 1,000 times. It's like, find something new that nobody's ever
different way to tell it.
Talked about, which is why I love talking to like the wives and girlfriends, because they always have a story that like the guys would never think to tell, or like they wouldn't think it's interesting, and then like the girls will say one thing and everyone will be like, oh my god, I didn't know this. Like Connor McDavid doesn't like ketchup. Like he would never go into a presser and be like, I don't like ketchup. And then like Lauren McDavid said that once in the show, and everybody's like, oh my god, like McDonald's is doing a collab with him. I'm like, I hope they pulled out all the ketchups in the restaurant. Like, but just like little things like that. Like find something fun, find something that like the average person who doesn't give a hoot about this sport would be like, that's interesting. That
gave me chills.
Oh my god, I'm dead. Thank you.
I feel like I have seen that in a clearer picture, especially with the Mikko trade.
Yes.
And thinking about the behind the scenes of like his girlfriend. I think it's just his girlfriend, not his wife. And how she had to pick up her entire life and move across the country after being here for so long. So it's nice to hear you say that. And do you have thoughts about the Mikko trade? I'm sure you've heard a lot about it.
I just, with what you were saying, like resonate with it so much. Last season was Jake and I's first pro season post-college, and he got traded on the trade deadline last season. And it was like pre-game skate the night before. I said to him, because like this is our first pro season, I was not used to trades. Like I was like, that's so crazy. Like in college you can't get traded mid-season. So I kept saying it all season to the girls. I'm like, that's crazy. Like any moment you could just get dished and never be back here. And the night before I said to him, I was like, Jake, what are the odds you get traded? Like jokingly. And he goes, Kat, 0.0. Like there is no reason I would get traded. Goes to the rink for pregame skate, gets called into the room. They're like, you're going to Chicago. He texts me. He's like, Kat, I just got traded. My parents flying in from Boston to come to Charlotte to watch the game tonight. First time visiting. They're boarding the plane. And I'm like, oh my God, what do we do? I've never done this before. Like, what do you mean you got traded? He's like, I have a flight in 4 hours to go to Chicago. I was like, we adopted a dog 2 weeks before.
Oh, no.
Like, I was losing it. So thank God my parents are angels. And I was like, can you please still come? Like, I think I won't have a mental breakdown if you guys come. So they came. I picked them up from the airport, dropped them off at our apartment, picked Jake up, drop him off at the airport to move to Chicago, come back. And then it was like, okay, how do we end our lease? Do we keep it or do we break it? What do we do with all of our stuff? We furnish this place ourselves. What do we do with our dog we just adopted? Like so many little things, again, that like people don't think about, which like, this is like, love the boys who have like girlfriends and wives, like they are kind of there to like pick up the pieces. So but like even the guys that are alone, it's like their stuff's just gone. So I just like feel for them, and it's like a shock wave. And even like I think moving into a new team can be so hard, especially when it's not like the beginning of the season. It's like everyone else has been there for 8 months already. That's so difficult, and it's difficult for everybody, the families, the players, and getting accustomed to a whole new life. So I'm just like wishing the best for them, rooting for them. It happens to the best of us. Those are my only those are my main thoughts on it. Is like, again, like the family side.
And it's kind of the same way you were talking about Patrick Kane, where he's gone to Carolina now and hasn't done as people might have expected him to. So
with
it's
Mikko.
So it's nice to know the background of it.
I was curious
it's really
too,
hard.
like the behind the scenes of even over this off season, like coming to Colorado was probably a little bit of a gamble at first that really paid off in a big way. But in even making the decision to take a chance on Colorado, is your career factored in there too? Like, can I thrive in Colorado? Can I still do what I would like to do with my hockey content creation goals in Colorado?
Yeah, it like isn't. It's so hard because obviously, like, I want things like I would love if Jake was like in a big city somewhere, and then it's like boom, like you guys are here in Denver. It's like boom, there's podcasters, there's people to collaborate with. But I think we have a really good understanding of like each other's careers, and he's so supportive of me that he's like, Kat, like if you can't live with me this season and like you got to do your own thing, like go girl. But it definitely is like a worry. I don't know how much that actually impacts it. But I think like once you're a little more established and you've been in it for a bit, you can like have your favorites list and maybe hop over to those teams. But when you're just getting started, you're like, I'll take what I can get.
Bloom where you're planted.
But for a bit, like I remember in the off season, there was like a chance like maybe he was going somewhere in Canada. And I was like, okay, well, I can't work if we're in Canada. Like, I don't have a Canada visa. A lot of like my income is like TikTok's creator fund. You only get paid if you're doing content in the US from TikTok. So there was a lot of factors that like made me worried. And I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to move with you. But I just try to like survive and adapt whenever we end up somewhere new. And I'm just like, we'll make the most of it. I was like getting chirped a bit in the family room last night because I'm like going back to Boston on Tuesday again. I was just there for 2 weeks for Four Nations, and I'm like, girls, I gotta work. Like, I gotta go to work. Like, I'm sorry. And they're like, you're never around anymore. And I'm like, I'm just doing my best to keep doing what I'm doing. And I love Loveland. I love where we are, and I do like as much as I can there. But there are times when like people I need to collaborate with or games I need to work are elsewhere. So I just hop on a good old groom transportation and go to the airport and go there. Yeah. So we make the most of it.
Sorry. How often do you travel?
More than I'd like to. Definitely more than I like to. I don't love planes, but I feel like I'm always on them. But yeah, I just got back on Wednesday. I'm leaving again on Tuesday. I'm going to Boston. I might be going to New York. Might be bopping back here. It's kind of all over the place. Yeah. It's a lot, but I love it.
It is a lot. I was really happy that you were able to come down here and do this with us so shortly after the Four Nations coverage, because it just felt like a whirlwind, I'm sure, from your perspective.
Yeah.
You had a major role in some of that Four Nations coverage, so I wanted to talk about that experience. Can you tell us a little bit what you were doing there?
Yeah, so ESPN reached out to me on a random Tuesday, best Tuesday of my life. Like, I got an email from them that's like, hey, we'd love to talk to you about like doing some social content for us for Four Nations. I start freaking out, and then I'm like, hold on, let me double check. Like, is this email fake? Yeah. I'm like double clicking her name. I'm like, I look her up on LinkedIn, and I'm like, are we sure someone's not pranking me? Like, this is way too good to be true. But it was the most incredible thing ever, and I got connected with two awesome people from ESPN that do a lot of social work for them. Bryce and Gina, you know who you are. I love you guys. We had a few meetings leading up to it, and they, from my understanding, they saw Out of His League, specifically my episode with Catherine Bogart and also Mason Loy from the Bruin sisters, Zoe, and just really liked the episodes that I did, and they wanted me to do one with Emily Kaplan, who is their beat reporter for ESPN. And so they asked me like if I'd be interested. I said yes. They asked her if she'd be interested. She said yes. And then I was kind of like, is this all you guys want to do, or like is there anything else you'd like to do for social? And they were like, oh, well, like, is there anything you'd like to do? And I was just like, well, I don't know. Let's come up with some ideas. So we kind of brainstormed doing, I was like, we have so many incredible women like at our disposal who are all going to be at this tournament. Like, let's just like get as many of them as we can to do content with. So we came up with the concept of doing like ringside interviews during the games. We got a different girl each period, and they're kind of like mini episodes of Out of His League, I feel like, where it's just like us like talking about hockey, but also the girly things, and we're just like hanging out watching the game, and we just like banged out a new one each period. So I did that for the back-to-back games on Monday, and then Thursday we filmed like a totally normal, I'm like least normal ever because it was the coolest experience ever, but like a typical episode of Out of His League shadowing Emily Kaplan that will be out in March, and that will be like, that is so cool and so incredible. But yeah, we did a lot of social work with them. They told me like they had never really worked with a content creator like on that scale before, and it was kind of their trial for it, which is incredible because you don't really think about it. I didn't think about it until I was doing it, and I was like, well, they are a broadcast network. Like, I guess it makes sense why they wouldn't like outsource content creators for their socials. Like a lot of their socials comes from the broadcast that they're doing. So I'm so happy and so like appreciative and excited that they're like making that shift into let's start prioritizing social content as well. And I hope like a lot of other networks follow suit, and I think it can create a lot of like job opportunities for people that aren't just social producers that are like making original content for social media. I think they did a great job like being the first ones to do that, and I hope a lot of other networks see that and they're like, that was good, we should try this. So yeah, that was the craziest week of my life. Like I like speaking about it, I'm just like, that wasn't real. I think I slept like in 4 days I slept like 12 hours. Couldn't sleep, was so excited and just doing so much. Like, it doesn't feel real at all.
That's the kind of stuff that I absolutely love about social media and why I have a career in it now, because there's so many opportunities that you can get from it. Like if you didn't have social media, then they would have never been able to find you for that opportunity. So I absolutely love that.
Yeah, and everyone needs to take advantage of it. I think the first like holy moment was I don't know if I can swear or not. I'm from Boston. It's just kind of in my blood. Was I think her name is Katie Feeney. I think that's her name. Content creator at Penn State, and like I would just assume like other than internships, she probably hasn't had any full-time jobs, and like the Washington Commanders hired her like full-time as like their content creator, and I was just like, an NFL team just hired a girl still in college in like her first or second year of college for a full-time position for their team. Like other people need to see this and be like, wow, these young people have a way better handle on social media than us 60-year-olds do. Like maybe they have a point. And that to me is, I'm like, oh, everyone needs to follow suit. And it's so unique now where there's like no other jobs, corporate jobs. You have like intern and then like production assistant and then producer, and you like work your way up. None of that exists for social media, which is scary. When I've been doing it, I'm like, this could turn into nothing, but it also at the same time is like, this is your resume. If you just keep posting on social media, like the content that you create is your resume, and somebody's gonna see it and be like, they could be like, this girl stinks, we're not doing anything with her. Or they could be like, she has something good here, let's see if we can collaborate. So yeah, I love social media. I'm so addicted. My screen time is disgusting.
Me too. And I have two phones.
It's like concerning.
It's bad. I can't even imagine if I added my 2 screen times together. I can't
your social phone.
It's so bad. I don't even want to admit it.
Yeah, it's okay. I won't judge. I'm not gonna judge. I'm not gonna be a hypocrite. I'm the last person that will judge.
We don't judge.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
What was your favorite interview from the Four Nations?
Oh God. They were all my favorite in different ways. Everybody asked that. They're like, who was your favorite? I'm like, I literally loved every girl like in a different way. Like Jordan Lee was like so cool. Patrick Laine's fiance. Like I'm like, we would hang out together all the time right after she went and like ran a half marathon in Disney World. Like just so cool. And then I was probably like the most nervous for Lauren McDavid, just because I'm like, don't mess this up. Kat. Like, do not say the wrong thing. Like, and I just respect them so much. And I know every single hockey player in the world like thinks he's so cool. So I was probably like the most nervous for her, but like she was so awesome, and hearing about her career endeavors was so inspiring. And then like Lauren Alvey, her music career is so cool. I literally said to her, we sat down, I was like, Lauren, I'm gonna be honest. Lauren Alvey Forsberg. I was like, I'm gonna be honest, girl. Like, I did not want to do this with you. I was like, I'm gonna look so ugly sitting next to you. I'm gonna look like the trash sitting next to you. Like, she's so freaking pretty. They met because she was modeling. I'm like, obviously. Yeah. And then Hillary Trocheck, I'm like the most thankful for in the entire world, because she actually stepped in last minute to fill in for an interview. Nice. I was originally going to do Kylie McAvoy. She was in such a unique position where her husband was playing for USA. She had a baby 2 weeks before. Her dad was the head coach of USA. Like, that was such a cool family dynamic. And then Charlie ended up getting hurt and didn't play in the game. And Hillary just like stepped right in. And I'm so appreciative of her. So like she's my favorite in that way, where I'm like, she's the best team player. And she's so cool. Like her energy is so Kylie Kelsey. Like, she's just like that cool girl that I'm like, I want to be friends with you.
I love her.
Yeah, it all in different ways. And then Emily Kaplan, obviously, is just like, you're
Emily
just
Kaplan
a baddie. Like, she's just running show. So
I love it.
Everyone. The answer is everyone.
I think I got a notification from ESPN that said like, do you want to turn on all notifications for Emily Kaplan? Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
I met her during the Dallas playoff series last year, and she knew who I was and gave me a compliment.
Yes.
And it made my life. I wear that as a badge of honor to this day.
As you should.
And women supporting women is also so important, because I had quote tweeted her earlier that morning for a report that she had made. And so I think she probably saw it just very naturally through that way, but I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I just think even that little vote of confidence, hearing words of affirmation from Emily Kaplan, went such a long way.
And that's so her. Like, even like when we were there, she'd stop and talk to like so many different girls that were working the games, and you can just tell like that's the energy, and that's the best energy to be around. So
it's so good.
We have a lot of inside scoops and stories coming from her, so make sure you check it out when it's live on Out of His League
in March. Is there an official date yet?
No date yet, but just sometime for Women's Month, the girlies.
Gosh, you said it's March in March, and I was thinking that's like
so far away.
Yeah, that's a few weeks
so
away.
far away. I'm like, no, I'm going to be glued
It's
to my
March.
computer editing the next 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. 5.5 hours of footage.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm screwed. I'm screwed.
Oh my gosh.
We're going to need a lot of Red Bull, a little Prosecco.
A little Prosecco.
Actually, maybe you can
Yeah.
see it today.
We'll call it the
Yeah.
cat.
Yeah.
Prosecco and Red Bull. I don't think that's safe, actually.
no,
yeah, I don't
probably
know
not.
about
Don't
that.
drink that.
That's okay. I'll alternate every day of editing, like a Red Bull day, Prosecco
Just
day.
drink water in
Maybe
between,
some
you'll be
water
fine.
in there. Yeah. So having that experience in interviewing all the wives and girlfriends, I saw in one of the interviews you asked, what do you think about the term wags? And I wanted to know from you, what do you think about the term wags?
I definitely agree with what the original person who I had this interview with said, where like it definitely used to be used in a degrading way. And that's why it became like offensive when it was just like, oh, you're a wag, like you're gonna sit at home and smooch off your husband and do nothing. And now I think it's in a very empowering way. I think so many partners of these professional athletes have paved their own way, whether it's in their family lives or their careers or their social media, writing books. Like, I think they've really taken the word back and are using it in an empowering way that I'm like, I don't think it's offensive at all. I think if we want to just scratch it, I have a new idea.
Yes, let's hear it.
Pops, partners of professionals.
Love it.
And then it's like,
Love
oh, the
it.
pops are here. I think that's like more of a fun word. Like the pops
It's
are
so
here.
cute.
Like it's almost like paps, but pops. Yeah, but
Pops is adorable.
yeah, I don't
I love that.
people who like get mad about the term wags, I think are just taking it of how it like used to be.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, we took the word back. The girlies are killing it.
Yeah.
I it's funny, like I feel like wags don't like to refer to themselves as wags. Like the
Yeah.
group chats are never like Eagles wags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it'll be like Eagles ladies. Like
Aw.
it's funny, like
love
nobody
it.
uses it about themselves, but I don't think anyone gets offended by it anymore. I don't think it's used in a derogatory form anymore because of what all the women have been doing in recent years to like take it back. Yeah.
When you were tasked with the Four Nations coverage and they wanted you to brainstorm additional ideas, why were you drawn to covering wives and girlfriends, that angle?
I think it's just like who I am to my core of what I care about. And I think I just have a unique perspective where I've done so many different angles of game days. Like I've been a reporter, I've been a manager, I've been a cheerleader. Now I've been a girlfriend of an athlete. And I think it's just made me appreciate all of the different ways that females experience game days.
Yeah.
That's kind of become my brand, is like highlighting them and putting a spotlight on them, because so many times in documentaries and interviews, like they'll be mentioned by the players for 2 minutes or they'll be featured for 2 minutes. Like, and I'm like, they have such interesting stories and perspectives to tell.
yeah.
Like, let's get a new one that nobody else is doing. And I think also just like with Out of His League, it fit like so seamlessly to integrate that in, where I'm like, the men have enough attention. They have enough cameras. They get enough spotlights. They get enough screen time. I'm freaking sick of them. Let's get some on the girls. Like, it's about time. It's like the girls' club and no one else is getting in, and I like
boys
it that
allowed.
way.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
All right, it's time to talk about Out of His League. I'm so excited.
Yay.
So you're the host, creator, editor, basically the queen of Out of His League.
Thank you.
Can you tell me what inspired you to create this in the first place?
Oh my God. I went through like a big slump after my last like full-time job, not working where I used to work, and I was feeling like so lost because I felt like I had like burned the bridges in the sports world of like I was going a very traditional like internships to PA to work your way up level, and then I went more like entertainment side, and I was like, I feel like I burned some bridges by doing that. Like I feel like my opportunity to go back to like traditional sports broadcasting's gone. And then I was like, and then like my entertainment type of stuff, I was like, what do I care about? And honestly, I actually like never told this story before, but when I was working at Barstool Sports, I literally like stormed into Dave Portnoy's office, and my internship was ending and I wanted an extension and I like didn't have one at the time. So I like literally stormed into his office. Like he was probably like, who the hell are you? And I was just like, hi, I'm Kat. I'm an intern here. Like, this is what I do. And at the time I was doing content about college, and I was like 6 months out of college. And he was like, do you care about the content that you're creating? And I was like, I do. But I also at the same time didn't realize how quickly when you get out of college, like you become detached, like you don't care. Like I was doing like college advice for girls, and I was like, I actually don't care about like what supplies you should bring to your math class anymore. Like your life really changes after that chapter. And he was like, well, like where's the longevity here? And he gave me the best advice I've ever gotten, which was the people that are the most successful in the content world are people who create content that they are genuinely passionate about. And I really took that. And for like a year and a half, I was just like, I don't know what to do. I took like a hiatus. I fell off the face of the earth to some people. And then some point I was just like, nobody's really spotlighting women in this like fun hype video bougie way that's like behind the doors, what's really going on. I don't know when it came to me. I think it was like over a period of time of all the different roles that I've had as a woman with a game day, and been like, oh, well, I met this really cool girlfriend, or I met this really cool reporter, or I met this really cool female coach, like, or these cheerleaders I know on this Navarro show. Like, and I was just like, what if instead of doing what I feel like a lot of people do is like covering women who work in sports, I was like, what if we just do everybody? Like any girl that has a game day. And I think it was like all of my past experiences made me have shape this idea and have this idea. And like my first 6 episodes were fortunately just women I've been able to network with through my personal life experiences, doing this for so many years already and being involved in it. And then we just kicked it off, and I was just like, I'll just do it and we'll see how it goes. I did a podcast for a little, and I was just like, I can't keep doing a podcast like a week after week. It's like when you're alone, especially, it's hard to come up with topics if you're just like, let's cover everything. That's so hard. So yeah,
we all need a Chloe.
Exactly. I started doing a podcast with a guy. His name's Wes Wilson, and we got 2 episodes in. It was popping off. Like all the clips were like 1 million views. And then he got cast on Summer House. He's like, Kat, I can't do it anymore.
Oh my
god.
God.
Basically everything like kept going wrong with like co-hosts and other shows. That I was like, I need something where nobody else is gonna impact my ability to do it, so I'm just gonna do it myself. And I think that's how like we got to like okay, I'll be a consistent in every episode, and then we'll change who it is every episode. So yeah, I think that's how I came up with it. And it's constantly evolving because it is so new. And that's what I like about it, is I feel like the first episode, all the episodes kind of match the vibe of the girls that I'm doing it with, which is what I wanted. And I feel like if you look at my first episode, it's so like structured and highly produced and feels very professional. And it's with Amina Smith, who was with NBC Sports, and now she's with ESPN. But it like matched her job. And then if you go to like the most recent episode, one with like Mason Laurie's sister Zoe, it's like, okay, she's the sister of him, like let's make this fun and chill, and like we're like hand vlogging, and I really try to like match their vibe and give the energy that they give, which I think is fun. And I feel like I haven't seen that be done before. I feel like a lot of times with shows, it's like, this is our show, come and fit our vibe. So and I also was like, let's make it short and visual for Gen Z, because I have the attention span of a peanut. I was like, 10-minute. People are like, how is 10 minutes an episode? I'm like, you do the editing, and then you tell me you want more than 10 minutes of an episode. We keep it quick around here for our peanut attention spans.
I'm among them. I watch on 2 times speed. I have a problem.
Oh, every time. That's why I hate Instagram Reels, because they don't have 2x. When TikTok was gone, I was like, if you guys don't import the 2x feature for watching Instagram Reels, you lost me.
You have to be able to drag that bar and skip through.
And then if you scroll, it restarts. I'm like, I'm gone.
I know.
I'm gone.
I'm out. Thank you.
I love that when you have, I mean, you don't call it a podcast, or you do?
I would call it a show.
A show.
A lot of people call it a podcast, and then that's how I know if they've watched it or not.
I like the word. I like the word
I'm like, you
docu-series.
Docu-series, yes.
Yeah, I would say series for sure.
But I love that it's not, it's not all sit down. Like in most of them, you're standing, you're walking around.
Yeah.
And I love that you're doing it based off of the vibe of that. But I do think, like in this kind of situation, when you have people come in and sit down, it can feel very professional, and people kind of have a shell over them and don't really want to come out when it's this sort of setting.
Yeah, I also realized so quickly that the best moments always happen the second you cut the cameras. That I was like, anytime like I bring a videographer on, I'm like, just keep rolling. Even if we stop talking, there'll be a little side comment or someone will drop something and it'll be like the best moment of the show. And I feel like when you keep people in their element instead of like creating a space around their element, they're way more them. And that's something that like I had to learn. Like again, the first episode we sat and did an interview for like 45 minutes. And now that I'm in it, I'm like with Emily Kaplan's, like we did not sit at all. Everything I wanted to ask her, we asked as her day was going on. And I think it keeps you like so much more entertained because you're like, I don't want to miss anything. Like the end is probably the best part. And it was an overtime goal. It was a very good part. But that's something like it was a learn as you go. And I listen to a lot of podcasts and I've learned the psychology of women is like we want something to be perfect before we present it. And a lot of women are scared to do something like out of his league where like I didn't want to launch it until it was perfect. And then I'm like, I just need to get it out there and then I'll learn what people like, what they don't like, which episodes have more views and why. And then I can adjust. It's not stuck to what you first do. So it was probably Mel Robbins. It's always Mel Robbins. Like she was like, just do it. And then adjust based on the response that you get or how you feel watching it back a month later. And I'm like, you're so right, girl. Like so right. So I'm like, just post anything, do anything, and just be willing to evolve it. Like as long as you do that and you're willing to evolve it, it will become more successful. If you do that and you're like, it has to stay the same, I don't think it would have grown the way that it's grown if I like kept it the same as I did the first episode. Like now I'm like, if I went and shot with Amina, I would say she's doing like the same thing. I would shoot it entirely different.
I feel like that's kind of a similar story to what's been going on with you and Pucks and Prosecco.
It's been an idea since 2017. I'm embarrassed to admit that, but the
That's
feel
okay.
of wanting it to be perfect before I show it to the world was so, I feel that so hard.
But at least you did it. Like, do you know how many people like have an idea and just don't do it? And like, that's when you die or you're dying. You're like, I'm going to be like, damn, I wish I started Pucks and Prosecco. Like, you're going to have way more regrets from the things that you don't do from what you do. So like, even though it took a while, at least you started. I think Out of His League took about 2 years for me from like my first concept to first episode being posted. Like, that's fine. Think about like a reality TV show who has like 40 editors. They take like a year to come. Summer House is coming out right now. I'm like, it's summer here in Colorado.
I'm still waiting for the Love is Blind from Denver.
Exactly.
I know. I've been waiting for that too.
Because I think, and you know what? I think Boston's in between Minnesota and Denver. And that's nowhere to be seen. Yeah.
I'm curious to see who the men are on the Denver season.
Me too.
Because it could have been Liv.
Do you think any of them have
been us in the pods?
Do you think it would have been any men in your DMs previously or no?
I don't think so, but they called me like, do you want to come on? They were tapping into the sports women for the show because our colleague Liv, who covers the Denver Nuggets, got hit up for it too. So I'm just curious.
Did you say yes?
No.
Oh, no.
I would have been a terrible fit. I would have self-eliminated.
They hit up my sister too, and she was like, absolutely not.
I would have been a terrible fit.
The second she like sees, like she'd be like, how tall are you? I'm like, fair.
I didn't get an invite, but that would have been hilarious. I feel like I don't know what I would have done.
I love that. Like one of my biggest dreams is to be on reality TV, and I'm like, Jake, you ruined my chances for like 90% of the shows. They're all dating shows. I'm like, you're screwed. And he's like, why don't we just go on and like pretend we don't know each other? I was like, yeah, that will work.
It always works. Secret boyfriend always works.
Yeah, every time.
It would be so hard to take yourself seriously in that scenario. I feel like a lot of those people that go on, I feel like they're really vulnerable.
I don't want to share anything about myself.
I feel like this is TV. I'm gonna be seen by millions of people, and I can't do that.
Do you guys like me? Like, can I get instant feedback?
No, can you tell me what the comments are on social media?
Before I respond, I'd actually like to know how the audience is feeling about me.
Exactly. All right. I saw one of your episodes featured Catherine Bogart. It sounds like she was a very prominent figure in your life. Can you tell me about the full circle moment of being able to create something of your own after she had such an influence on you even getting started in this industry?
I will legit sing her praises until I die. Like she is my girl. If anyone is like, if I'm in a room with a billion people, I'm just gonna hype her up like I always do. Like she is my girl. It was exactly that. It was so full circle, and I'm so appreciative of everything she taught me. But not only that, like when I filmed our episode of Out of His League together. None of them were posted, so she didn't even know like what she was getting into. And in that position, like it's definitely hard to get all of like the permissions that you need to get and like get it approved by everyone. When like the Devils are probably like, who the heck is this little blonde girl running around with a camera? Like they probably wanted nothing to do with me, but like she made it happen, and it's made me be like, I need to do that for someone else. And every opportunity I get, I try to like bring a girl with me, or add another woman to the project. Like even shooting 4 Nations, I had my head videographer, Jack Skelly, who he's incredible. And I've shot with him a lot in the past, and he shot episodes of Out of His League for me. So he was like my initial. And then they were like, do you have another one? And there was just a girl, Tessa McAndrews. I never met her in person. We were just mutuals on social media. And I was like, I want to bring a girl into this project if I can. So I just added her on. Like, could we have done it with one person? Yeah, it wouldn't have been as good. But I was like, if I can bring a girl into this project, I need to. And I was able to. And I think that honestly stems from someone, Catherine, being willing to pull a chair for me at a table. And now I'm like grabbing every folding chair I can. I'm like, get her here, get her here, get her here. But it rubs off. And I think in sports, like the honest truth is there's so limited positions for females in sports. And I wish there was more, and I know we're getting better, but it's still not where it should be. That sometimes it's competitive, and sometimes any girl is like, oh, well, she's my competition. That does happen. But then there is the other side of it. That's the positive side. That's the Catherine Bogarts that are like, let me lift you up. Let me recommend you for this job. Let me send you this job that's available. Let me introduce you to this person. And like, those are the most incredible people ever. And being around those people will lift you all higher. Being that individual that's fighting for the spot, like, you will never get as far as the girls that are supporting each other will, because there'll be jobs that they don't even want, but they'll be like, you would be perfect for this. And Catherine has like had that trickle effect on me, and I hope I have that effect on people because of that. And I know she's had it on other people too, because every second I saw her at 4 Nations, she's with a different girl, hugging a different girl, saying hi to a different girl. Like, oh, you know her? You know her? She knew Gina from ESPN. She's like, I love her. I'm going to text her. Like, she's just the best. And I just wish all of her dreams come true. Like, I don't even know what they all are, but I'm just I co-sign on all of them. Like, if she needs a letter of recommendation, I would be the best person to ever write one with her. The person reading it would be like, are you in love with her? And I'd be like, a little bit. Yeah.
If I had a genie who could grant me 3 wishes, 2 of them would be hers.
Yeah, exactly.
3 of them would be hers.
Exactly. It'd be her to get the 2 she wants, and then 3 more wishes for her.
3 more wishes.
Yes.
That was the first piece of advice that I heard from people when I first entered the sports industry, was even if you're in a position where you feel like you're competing with women, make sure that you always take the time to uplift them too. So
also, like, it's not our fault that there's one position. Like, if you're both great, maybe they'll make a new position. It's always the men. The men need to make more jobs for the women.
Men need to create more jobs.
Exactly. It's not like, oh, there's one seat available, let's give it to a girl. It's like, if they hire the right girl, she'll pull up another seat for another girl. So, yeah.
I personally like the effect, too, that having women around a man's sport, but also a women's sport, just to be clear, can have, I think. I think it's also good for our young men to have more women around the game of hockey at a young age. I think it's going to bring up more respectful young men to have women that they can look up to in a professional capacity there as well.
Yes.
The second I found out Kim was one of the Eagles coaches, I was like asking Jake a billion questions about her. And then they had like one female ref at their games. I was like, Jake, what's her name? What'd she do? What's her name? Like, did you talk to her? And I literally was reaming him. They did one Eagles TikTok, and he like forgot the social girls' names because he panicked. And
I saw this.
I lit him a new one. I was just like, you need to like show up for your girls in sports and highlight them and represent them. He's like, I promise I will. I'm so sorry. He's like, I got nervous in front of the camera.
I got nervous.
But yeah, that's exactly how I am. I'm just, the second I meet them, I'm like, like I fangirl over every girl. That's any athlete. Like, I've been in the room with Tom Brady, Julian Edelman, like anyone, and I'm just like, but Camille Kostek.
Yes.
Like, but Giselle.
I love that.
Chloe, you have a really great question in here. I didn't want to ask it on your behalf.
Which one?
That's so girl of you.
It's the one about the challenges that might come with creating content as a woman in a man's world. Like, what have you learned from launching and growing your own show that you think more people should know about with respect to launching it in like a male-dominated space?
Yes.
It's Chloe's question.
Okay. Go ahead,
Thanks.
Chloe. The floor is yours. The floor is yours.
That's my question.
Can you ask it again?
Yeah,
I thought you were gonna summarize, so I was like,
I guess that's true. But just
get it, girl.
You know, the challenges and the experience you have with starting a podcast that is in a male-dominated field and creating a lot of content that is seen by millions and millions of men and women, and just being in this kind of space. You know, what experiences can you tell other people? What advice do you have for other people? And just what should people know more about when they're trying to enter this kind of space?
Oh my God. Where the heck do I start with that?
Right.
Where do I start with that? Men will always men. They'll always be Chads, Brads, and Thads. I've definitely gotten the most hate that I've ever gotten, especially like post 4 Nations, but that's because it's getting the most visibility that it's ever gotten.
Yeah, that's how you know.
And the biggest, best advice I've ever heard is do not take criticism from somebody you would not take advice from. And from that moment on, I was like, oh, we're good. Like sometimes if like I have one video, I'm just getting ripped, like I'll make like a funny TikTok, like reading the comments of the men that like comment hate comments, because like I just laugh. Like I really just laugh.
Yeah.
My favorite thing to do also, like if a man like sends me like a nasty hate comment, is I'm so bitter. I will I hold the biggest grudges. I will screenshot it, send it to their girlfriend or their mom. I'll find it and I'll be like, just so you know, you're dating this sexist prick. And I'll just send it. I've done that so many times. It's my favorite thing to do. I'll post it on my story. If I get like a Insta DM, I'll just be like, and I'll leave the name in, like if it's nasty, and then they always delete it. But it always comes from no name, no profile picture, private account, no followers. So I'm just like, if you want to chirp me, like at least chirp me to my face. Like I lived in New York. I'm from Boston. I worked at Barstool. I can take the chirps. Like, I am in the hockey world. Like, give it to me. Give me a good one if you're gonna give me a chirp. Like,
if you can walk into Dave Portnoy's office, straight in there, then you can take everything.
Yeah, it's so fun. His like go-to man, Frankie. We were talking about it after. He was like, "I saw you go in there." I was like, "The balls this girl has." Like, I mean, like he's like, "I would never do that."
I just love the story of you checking in your first game back your junior year of high school.
Yeah,
so
it's exactly
I feel like that's kind of just who you are.
But I think idol in life, Taylor Swift, like we just have to look at her, and she's getting a ton of hate. She's getting booed at the games, but it's like it is the most insecure little men who have a problem with it, and that's it. I've gotten so many messages from females and girls being like, I love what you're doing with the space. Thank you for shedding a light on this. Thank you for girlifying the sport. Getting more girls into sports grows the sport. It creates bigger events. It creates a better hype around it. It creates bigger crowds. Like, I don't know why you would ever want to like make it seclusive to like the boys' boy. Like those are the most insecure guys ever who can't deal with it. And I experience it all the time. I experience it like at 4 Nations. There was an older videographer that like didn't want to let my videographer shoot. And I know like he's just looking at me and her like, who are these 2 little girls shooting for social media? And I was just like, it's a little imposter syndrome that I had to get over, but I was like, we were contracted by ESPN to be here. We deserve to take up this space. And there is an audience for this, because I don't care about the analytics of the sport, but I'm dying to see what Olivia Culpo is wearing at the game. And there is an audience for it. And if there wasn't, I wouldn't be here. I would have 0 followers. No one would watch the show. No one would come on it. So I think you just need to like, one, like somehow grow thicker skin, which like sometimes takes a couple of years to do. Like I definitely used to be sensitive, and now I'm like, I don't give a hoot. But it's hard. You just gotta like wing it and trust yourself. There's an audience for everything. And I tell everyone, like if you have a thought of creating this content and if you're scared of people judging you, you're never gonna do anything in life ever. Like I know I've been sent in all the hometown group chats and this group chat, and like I'm like, I just don't care. Because this is what I wanna do. And those getting sent about me is so minusculely like the negativity that I would feel if I just didn't do this. So it's like so worth it. And I'm just like, 100%. I don't care. I'm just like, if you're gonna chirp me to my face, like have a good one. Have your profile picture and your real name in there, and I'll take it like a man.
Make sure to watch
like
the
a
full
woman,
thing so I get the view, and send a like when you're done.
Exactly.
But there's definitely that like imposter syndrome and like don't want to step on anyone's toes. But I think I was actually like reminiscing on it going into today. I was just like, what would we talk about? And I was like, I think the most unsuccessful I ever was when I was at Barstool, because so many people there were like so sure of who they were and what they wanted to do that it made me so unsure of who I am. And I saw so many people before me like be successful. So I'm like, oh, I need to be like her. And that didn't work because it wasn't me. And it's the most cliche thing answer, like be yourself, like do what you want to do, trust your gut. And it's like I want to scream it and like shake myself and tell myself that. But when you're around people who are like so confident everywhere in the sports industry of who they are and what their brand is and what they represent, it can make you like so insecure. So you really just have to know who you are and what you want to do in the message that you send out and trust that. And if nobody else has done what you've done, like you're doing something right. If you replicate anyone, then you're just the second them. And there's like a reason that they are who they are. So it's so cliche and I hate saying it, but it's like if you're doing what nobody's done, you're doing something right, and like trust yourself, even if you're getting slander from Brads, Chads, and Thads.
I want to affirm the men who listen to this show because we did an astrology podcast. We were looking at the astrological signs of the Colorado Avalanche and like trying to decide what they needed more of based off of that.
Good.
And it was honestly like,
I need to go back and listen
to that. It was
super
super tongue in cheek. We're like, I think that the back end needs less earth signs, more fire signs. It was absolutely ridiculous. But
so good.
But there were men who tuned in for it, and 2 shows later, they're still in the chat like, well, I'm a Virgo, and that's why I feel this way about this trade. I'm like really overly critical of it.
He's like, I'm a fire sign and I'm a free agent.
And so I want to shout out the men who like played into it. They might not be into astrology at all, but they played into it, they listened, and they continue to tune in. So I'm really appreciative of that.
I love that, and I want to go off of that, and I also want to acknowledge the most supportive men I have gotten on my content journey have been the NHL players and Jake's teammates on the Eagles and like the Avs organization and like all the guys, like every guy I saw that I knew at Four Nations, like I saw so many players that I know that like played with my brother or played with Jake or I worked for their team, and every single one, Jake Ottinger, first thing he said was like, I love the content that you're doing.
I love
and
that.
Like that's like, okay, if the players who I'm creating content around their life like what I'm doing, I don't give a hoot about Shane in the rafters and 432D telling me to go make a sandwich.
Kick rocks, Shane.
So is part of growing thicker skin, do you read a lot of your comments?
Ooh, good question,
Chloe. Oh, I'm so bad at it. I read every single one, and I shouldn't say that because now some people are gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get it. I read every single. For a while, like I was in the Reddit, and I was like, I gotta
don't go there.
No, I gotta get out of here. I read every single one because I get so many positive messages too that I want to respond to all the positive ones. So you have to filter through them. No, I think getting thicker skin was like living in New York for a year and like having that job like that. I got like the meanest ones I've ever gotten, and now I just don't care. I think it's also like maturing. I think it's also now I feel like very confident in myself and what I do, that nothing anyone says is gonna impact me. I say like shots like that, they can either be like bullet shots or they can be a water gun. And I'm like, now they're water guns. They used to wound me. They used to be real bullets, but now I'm like, we're playing like assassin senior year of high school. Like I don't care anymore.
I love that. Just starting out doing this, I feel like I read everything.
Everything
I've
it's so natural. Like, it's so normal. But like all Four Nations, everyone's like, this girl's trying too hard. I'm like, oh no. Am I trying too hard at my dream job for the biggest opportunity of my life, for the biggest hockey tournament that's ever created? I'm trying too hard. Oh no. And how are we gonna move past
if we dialed it back, they'd be like, oh, she's giving nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no winning for those people.
No, exactly. And also like think about how miserable you have to be to leave a comment. I've never left a comment like that in my life. Like
there's a dark
you
side
gotta
of that.
be so internally miserable. I just feel bad for them, honestly. Just like, what did the Southerners say? Bless your heart.
Bless her heart. Bless her heart. My horrible Southern accent.
All right, I think you've been so generous with your time, so we can wind this down.
Oh, yeah, see, I told you I could Give me a little Prosecco. Girl, I'm like, I won't say anything, and I'm like, give me a little Prosecco. Okay, I'll tell you.
We'll maximize the full window of opportunity. But if you could have a dinner, a hockey dinner with 3 hockey people, living, dead, past, present, any league, doesn't matter, who would be seated at your dinner table?
Oh my God. Like players or?
They don't even have to be players. It could be a GM you loved. I don't know. A coach you loved.
Oh my God. Oh my God, I'm so on the spot right now.
You're right. That was a lot. Because I
Holy.
made this so open-ended now. Chloe, do you know your three?
I don't even know.
Cale Makar.
Cale Makar would 1,000%.
Why?
I just love him.
Okay. I've heard like he's the best guy.
Oh,
and
he
I've heard
is.
He's so nice.
I'm
and
not sure
just-
fiance or wife or girlfriend. Like I've heard
Wife.
she's
Yeah,
just the
wife
most
now.
precious like
Yeah,
ever.
She's
so
so
cute.
nice. I used to work for the team, and she would always come in. Like I worked in the PR side of it, so she would come in. And one time she told me that I had really good handwriting, because she's a teacher, and I've never forgotten about that moment. So I love her, but Cale is a player that I've known and loved basically as long as I've watched hockey. So that's why he's just one of my favorites.
Specifically in the hockey world, someone I haven't met that we're like friends on social media that I love her work is Jackie Redmond.
Oh, I love Jackie Redmond
Yeah,
too.
and I think what she's doing with the WWE is so cool, and I don't think it's I don't want to say I don't even think it's common. I think she's the only person ever that's like done the level of hockey broadcasting that she does, having her own show on NHL, doing all of the TNT nationwide games, and then also at the same time on tour with WWE. Like I just want to like be like, girl, like what's your routine? Yeah. Yeah, like I think I could get a lot of good career advice from her.
Yeah.
So definitely her. She's like one of my hopeful guests for Out of His League for sure. Because I think like she could just inspire so many people.
Yeah.
Really sharing her story. Can you guys like rifle off like some like
I was wondering
coaches,
if any
like,
Bruins legends, if that would be
I
fun
mean
to have
like
a
Bobby
dinner.
Orr would probably be cool. Like probably be cool. Bobby Orr would obviously. My dad
guess
is
he could
probably
come
like,
to my
"Kat,
dinner."
like, how are you not just picking?
I
like,
might
Bruins
invite him.
people? I'm more like of a in general. I'm more into like I love the greats, honor the greats. But I love like people who are in it right now because I think the
today's
game
era.
and the content world is so different than what it used to be. That like things like they are so like. Back in our day, it was like this, and it's just so different now that I don't think I could relate to it. Like, I love
agree.
talking to people that I can learn from. Oh my God, like someone's gonna watch this and be like, how did you forget this person?
I know I really
No.
put you on the spot with this dinner.
It's hard. I think like another person that's involved in the NHL right now, Jessica Campbell. I think having her
yes,
sit at the
yes,
table.
that is it.
Done,
That,
right?
If I watched
Like-
this episode on Tuesday, I would be like, why the hell did I not say Jessica Campbell? Jessica Campbell, 1,000
Yes.
times over, 10 billion times over. Yes, posted about her, fangirl about her, obsessed with her. Like, I don't wear hockey jerseys really. I would wear like a jersey with her name on it every single day,
yeah.
like
I don't
the
like
rest
to
of my
wear
life.
jerseys with names. I don't want to endorse somebody unless it's Jessica Campbell.
Exactly.
I am
Love
obsessed
it.
with her. I'll say Gary Bettman. I feel
okay.
like
Come on, Gary.
I feel like me and Gary could have
Let's
a
figure
we
some
could have a
things
nice
out.
dinner. I have some ideas I could propose to.
Yeah.
One of my questions for Nations content was if you were Gary Bettman for a day, what rule would you make? It could be any rule. I can ask you guys this. It could be any rule, no matter how like crazy it is. Like it could be like someone was like ban Matthew Tkachuk. Like it could be like anything like crazy. Mine is based off the Hunger Games. They do like 25 years, they do a quarter quell. So I said like in the NHL, what if we did like something similar where every 10 years, the playoffs, we just did like a 1 through 24 bracket. And they played each other the way college hockey does.
Yes.
Because in the NHL right now, you have the East and West.
Yeah.
And you have teams that will never play each other in the cup final. And sometimes the two best teams are the East and the two best teams are the West. And that's the final you wanted, but you're never going to get. So I'm like,
Yes.
what if every decade we just did a total Yahtzee scramble
No, I
and
love
spiced
it.
it up?
I
I
love
love
So
that.
I would pitch that to Gary over some spaghetti, I guess.
I think that would get the
Over
teams that are kind of the bottom feeders maybe inspired too to have some opportunity. Like
Yeah.
I think someone needs to save Connor Bedard. I'm kind of worried about what's happening in Chicago right
Pray
now.
for Connor Bedard.
Pray for Connor Bedard. And I want to piggyback off that. My rule will be playoffs. Normal format, round by round though, as you eliminate a team, you can take one player from the team that you eliminated into the next round. Not
my
forever, just
gosh.
for the playoffs.
That would be
love it.
electric. I love that. I got mad about that with fantasy football. I'm way less into football, but I was like, why can't I take this guy? He's dead.
Yeah,
like,
he's
out.
dead.
He's dead. And I was like, why can't I take this guy? And they're like, because he's out. And I'm like, that's so stupid. He's just going to waste. And it's like,
Yeah.
that is how it works.
I'm trying to think of mine. I think you said Connor Bedard, and it reminds me of when Celebrini got drafted, I was like, God, they should be able to choose.
Can I say no?
You're the best.
Can
Like
I
you're the
reject
best
it?
player, and you're going to the worst team. Like you should be able to have a little bit of choice in that.
That is so funny. That just made me think of Jake's team at Ohio State. They had like the most shorthanded goals of any team, and like their power play wasn't getting a lot of goals.
Yeah.
I was like, can we just decline that penalty? Like we really don't want the
Seriously.
power
It's
play.
so
Like
good, yeah.
honestly, throw us on the PK. Like they were getting so many shorthanded goals.
Yeah, we'll get a player off the ice, actually. Thanks.
Thanks.
I love the PWHL's jailbreak. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
I
That's
really wish the
amazing.
NHL did that. That's so cool.
I'm surprised that they did that for the PWHL and they haven't made it a thing for the NHL.
I
feel
know.
like it's
Maybe they'll test it.
yeah.
I'll ask
Be
Gary
fun.
over our
Yeah,
dinner.
I'll
right.
ask Gary at dinner.
For your spaghetti.
Yeah, that would be spicy.
The spaghetti or
The
Both.
spaghetti
Both.
dinner.
Our dinner. We get into the nitty gritty.
That's incredible. All right, we've gone a little bit long for all of you who've made it this far. Thank you so very much. Kat, can you tell people where they can find all of your amazing content and keep up with your work?
Oh my God, you're so nice. Plug it all. Plug it all. At It's Kat Ellis. It's Kat Ellis. At Kat Ellis was taken by someone else. So at ITSKATELLIS. I've also noticed since I changed my name, everybody thinks my name's Kate. But a lot of people commented
That
Kate.
makes
It's Kat.
sense.
It's okay. I get it. Easy mistake. And out of his league, we do all the clips on my TikTok, my Instagram, which are both at It's Kat Ellis. My YouTube channel, I think it's just at Catherine Ellis. Full episodes are there. We have 2 huge episodes coming out for Women's History Month in March. One, I'll spoil it. One's with the White Sox and one's with Emily Kaplan. That's exclusive. One's with the White Sox, one's with Emily Kaplan. And they are so good. If you were in, which obviously everyone was, if you're into Four Nations, seeing this behind the scenes is so cool. So definitely tune in. It's so good.
I'm so
my gosh,
excited
I'm
for that one.
excited.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We will be posted in Sat. Maybe we'll do like a watch along.
Oh,
live
watch
viewing.
along for your
Oh
pod.
my
That would
God,
be
thank
amazing,
you. That'd
actually.
be really fun. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode of Pucks and Prosecco. Bye.